Your energy is speaking long before your words. Before you open your mouth, before you explain yourself, before you even enter a room, you're already being felt. So the real question is, who's in control of that energy? Is it you, or is it everything and everyone around you? Most people go through life absorbing emotions that aren't theirs, thoughts that don't belong to them, frequencies that pull them off center. But you weren't meant to carry everything. You weren't meant to lose yourself in the noise. You were born to remember your field, your power, your presence. And energy control? It doesn't begin with hiding, shielding, or escaping the world. It begins with presence, with awareness, with learning to anchor into your own sacred current, no matter what the world is doing around you. Because the first steps in energy control are actually the first steps in remembering who you truly are. You've probably heard the phrase protect your energy, but have you ever truly paused to feel what your energy actually is? Not just as an abstract idea, but as something real, alive, pulsing beneath your skin, emanating from your thoughts, your presence, your choices. Energy is not just spiritual, it's practical. It moves through your voice when you speak truth. It softens your body when you feel safe. It contracts when something isn't aligned. And every moment, whether you're aware of it or not, you're either spending it, leaking it, storing it, or channeling it. Most of us grew up ignoring our energy. We were taught to smile when we didn't mean it, to say yes when we wanted to say no, to keep going even when we were bone-deep exhausted. We learned to value productivity over presence, logic over intuition. But your energy was never meant to be managed like a resource on a spreadsheet. It's sacred. It holds your truth. And when it's not honored, you feel it deeply. Have you ever noticed how just being around certain people leaves you exhausted, while others feel like breathing fresh air? The reason is simple, but profound. Your energy is always in communication with your environment. It speaks before words do. It remembers what your mind forgets. When something feels off, even if you can't explain why, it's your energy responding. And the moment you start to treat that response with reverence instead of resistance, everything begins to change. You stop overriding your inner knowing. You begin to feel the subtle shifts within you. You start asking, is this draining me or feeding me? Tuning into your energy is not about becoming hyper-vigilant or rigid. It's about becoming sovereign. It's about recognizing that your presence is a temple, not a convenience store. That your intuition is a compass, not a question mark. It's the beginning of returning to yourself, gently and honestly. And from here, a deeper journey begins. When you don't control your energy, something subtle but powerful starts to happen. You begin to live reactively instead of intentionally. Your emotions, your thoughts, even your body start responding not to what's true for you, but to whatever is loudest in your environment. Your day becomes a collection of external influences, a look from a stranger that lingers in your chest, a message that shifts your mood, a crowded room that leaves you depleted without knowing why. Without energetic awareness, you unconsciously allow yourself to become a sponge, absorbing, reacting, carrying, and over time you lose the clarity of what's actually yours. You might notice yourself feeling drained, disconnected, restless, not because your life is objectively difficult, but because you're constantly entangled in energies that don't belong to you. You overthink conversations, take on the moods of others, feel heavy for no apparent reason. Have you ever walked into a space and instantly felt off, even if nothing was said? Or spoken to someone and left the conversation feeling a little less like yourself? That's energy working beneath the surface. And when it goes unclaimed, it takes root in places it shouldn't. In this state, boundaries become porous. You might say yes when your body is screaming no. You might offer support when you haven't supported yourself in days. You smile out of habit, not sincerity. You begin to perform rather than embody. It can feel like you're floating just outside yourself, always a little behind, always catching up, never quite grounded. The world sees you moving, but inside, you're flickering, dimmed, fragmented. And the deeper consequence is this: when you're not controlling your energy, You're not creating your reality. You're reacting to someone else's. Your intentions, no matter how clear, get diluted by the noise you allow in. Your inner compass starts to spin, unsure of where it's pointing, because you haven't anchored it in stillness. You begin to lose your sense of center. You chase peace instead of generating it. You search for clarity outside of yourself, forgetting that it always begins within. This is where burnout is born. Not just physical exhaustion, but soul-level depletion. A kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. A disconnection that meditation alone doesn't mend. Because the issue isn't just stress, it's a lack of energetic ownership. It's forgetting that your energy is not just affected by life, it shapes it. So ask yourself, how often do I give my energy without question? And when was the last time I truly called it back? Because until you do, you'll keep wondering why your life feels overwhelming, even when nothing looks wrong on the surface. You'll keep fighting for peace instead of protecting it. And slowly, your light will feel less like something you embody and more like something you remember. And that's where a deeper reckoning begins. Before anything can shift, you have to notice. You have to feel. Awareness is the doorway to all transformation. And when it comes to energy, it's not optional. It's sacred. You are not just a body moving through space. You are an electromagnetic field, a living frequency, a subtle vibration that interacts with everything around you. Your thoughts emit signals. Your emotions color the space. Your presence reaches further than your words ever could. But how often do you actually notice the texture of your field? Your energy field is like an invisible skin. It holds your emotions, your intentions, your memories, your intuition. And it also holds the things you've picked up unconsciously. Fragments from conversations, leftover emotions from crowded rooms, impressions from people who brushed up against your aura. Most people aren't aware of this. They go through life accumulating energy like dust on furniture, wondering why they feel heavy, foggy, disconnected. When you begin to observe your field, you reclaim sovereignty. You begin to notice when something enters that doesn't belong to you. A sudden shift in mood, a tightness in the chest that wasn't there before, a thought loop that doesn't feel native to your mind. These are not coincidences. They're signs, gentle, quiet indicators that your energy is responding to something. The more you practice this awareness, the more refined your sensitivity becomes. And this isn't weakness, it's deep, ancient intelligence waking up. You might be wondering, but how do I feel my field? Start small. Start in silence. Start when you wake up, before you speak to anyone, before you touch your phone. Sit in your own energy, undisturbed. Ask yourself, what does my energy feel like before the world rushes in? Maybe it's calm, maybe it's anxious, maybe it's loud or quiet or heavy or electric. There's no right answer, only presence. Only listening. And then, as you move through your day, keep checking in. Notice what contracts you, what expands you, who leaves you feeling clearer, and who leaves you scattered. What spaces support your grounding, and which ones pull you into chaos. Your field is always in communication with the world. But are you in communication with it? This awareness becomes your compass. Not to judge, not to control, but to choose. You begin to feel the difference between alignment and entanglement, between resonance and resistance. You stop moving on autopilot and start living with intention, not just mentally, but energetically. And that's when your life begins to organize itself around your clarity. You don't need fancy tools to access this. Just presence, just breath, just a willingness to be honest with yourself about what you feel, without explanation or apology. Because when you become aware of your field, you begin to realize that energy doesn't lie. And once you start listening to its language, everything else becomes clearer. So ask yourself, right now, in this moment, is what I'm feeling actually mine? Because awareness is the first gate, and once it opens, nothing feels the same again. Once you become aware of your field, something interesting begins to happen. You start to notice what doesn't belong. Thoughts that feel foreign, emotions that appear out of nowhere, physical tension that wasn't there an hour ago. sometimes even fatigue or irritability that doesn't feel authentically yours. This is when the second step becomes essential: clearing. Your energy field is like a sponge. It absorbs, not because you're weak, but because you are sensitive, perceptive, empathic, and that's a gift, but it needs guidance. Imagine walking barefoot through a forest. You're bound to pick up twigs, leaves, a little dust. That doesn't mean you stop walking the forest. It means you learn to pause, brush yourself off, and move forward clean. Clearing is that sacred brushing off. It's the act of releasing what isn't yours so you can return to yourself. Energetic residue can come from many places: the tone of someone's voice, the tension in a room, the fear running beneath someone's words. Even scrolling through a feed full of anxiety or outrage can leave subtle imprints. And over time, these imprints build up. They start to distort your inner clarity. You feel things that aren't aligned with your truth. And if you don't clear them, they begin to shape your choices, your reactions, your state of being. So how do you clear? It doesn't have to be complex. The most powerful methods are often the simplest. Water is one. A conscious shower, not just to wash the body, but to cleanse the field. Standing under the stream and intentionally releasing what doesn't belong, naming it, or simply feeling it leave. Breathing is another. Deep, slow inhales and even deeper exhales, visualizing the exhale as a release of all foreign energy. Sound can help too. Chanting, humming, listening to frequencies that help recalibrate your space. You can also use your voice. Speak to your field. Say, "Anything that is not mine, I release you now." Speak it with intention, not force. Energy listens to clarity. It doesn't need you to fight, it needs you to decide. The moment you choose to reclaim your field, everything that isn't aligned with you begins to dissolve. Ask yourself gently, what am I carrying today that I don't recognize as mine? Don't try to analyze it, just feel it. The body knows. The heart knows. Sometimes, even the breath will feel different once something leaves. This step isn't about rejection, it's about discernment. You're not pushing energy away. You're simply recognizing what was never meant to stay. You're choosing to be a clear vessel for your own truth, your own essence. And the clearer you become, the more you can hold. Not just for yourself, but for others too. But the clearing must come first, because nothing can truly align until space is made. And that space begins with the courage to let go of what was never yours to carry. Once you've cleared what isn't yours, the next natural movement is to protect what is. But protection, in the energetic sense, doesn't mean isolation. It's not about closing your heart or hiding your light. It's about discernment. It's about choosing what you allow in and what you allow out. This is where many get confused. Boundaries are not walls. They don't keep you disconnected from life. They keep you rooted in your truth while moving through life. Think of your energy as a sacred home. Would you leave the doors wide open for anyone to walk in, no matter their intention or state? Or would you greet the world from your front step, inviting only those energies that honor your space to enter? This is the essence of energetic boundaries. Not fear, not rejection, but self-respect. Many people carry unconscious guilt when they begin to set boundaries. They've been conditioned to believe that saying no is selfish, that choosing solitude is antisocial, that asking for space is a sign of weakness. But what if boundaries were actually the greatest act of self-love? What if they were also the deepest form of respect you could offer to others? Because when your boundaries are clear, others don't have to guess where they stand. They can feel your strength, your clarity, your presence. And you, in turn, stop leaking energy in 1,000 unseen directions. You stop saying yes when you mean no. You stop absorbing chaos to avoid discomfort. You begin to live in alignment. Setting energetic boundaries doesn't require confrontation. Sometimes, it's simply choosing not to engage, not replying right away, not attending every gathering, not matching someone's intensity when your body is asking for calm. Other times, it's speaking with grace and firmness. This isn't for me. I need some space right now. I don't have capacity for this. And the more you practice, the less you'll need to explain, because your field will speak for you. It will emit a frequency of clarity, of sovereignty, of quiet power. Ask yourself, where in my life am I giving too much without being asked? Or, where do I continue to let in energy that drains rather than nourishes me? You may already know the answers, but haven't yet given yourself permission to act on them. This step is not about being rigid. True boundaries are alive, responsive, and compassionate. They bend when needed, but they don't collapse. They evolve as you do. And as your awareness deepens, your boundaries become more intuitive, more subtle, more natural. You no longer need to defend yourself from the world. You simply remain anchored in your own vibration. And in doing so, you make space not just for protection, but for deeper connection with others, with yourself, with what truly matters. Once you've set your boundaries, a deeper question begins to rise. If I am no longer being pulled by what isn't mine, then what is truly me? This is where anchoring becomes essential. Anchoring into your own frequency means choosing, over and over again, to return to your natural state, to remember who you are beneath the noise, the stories, and the energy of others. It's not a one-time realization, it's a living practice. Your frequency is not static, it breathes with you. It expands, contracts, and shifts as you grow. But there is a baseline within you that remains, your essence, that silent knowing, that grounded stillness beneath every emotion, every thought, every sensation. Anchoring into that place is how you stop drifting. It's how you begin to live from your core rather than react to your surroundings. But how do you find that center again and again, especially in a world designed to pull you away from it? The answer isn't always grand or mystical. Sometimes it's found in stillness, in a breath taken with full awareness, in choosing presence over urgency. Other times, it's a sound, a symbol, a scent, a practice that reminds your nervous system, I'm safe, I'm home, I'm here. Anchoring is not about control, it's about devotion. Devotion to your truth, devotion to your alignment, devotion to the part of you that never wavers, even when everything else does. And the more you return to it, the clearer your field becomes. The more resilient your energy becomes. The more natural it feels to live from within, rather than constantly chase something outside to complete you. This step is where consistency begins to matter. Not in a rigid, disciplined way, but in a sacred, intentional way. What do you do daily that brings you back to yourself? What reminds you of your inner rhythm when the world feels too fast, too loud, too heavy? Maybe it's movement, maybe it's silence, maybe it's touch, sound, writing, breath, prayer, or time in nature. Maybe it's creating something with your hands, or doing absolutely nothing at all, just being. The how doesn't matter as much as the why. And the why is simple, because you are worth returning to. So ask yourself, what does my energy feel like when it's fully mine? Or what rituals help me remember myself when I forget? These are not questions for the mind to answer, but invitations for the body and spirit to explore. Over time, you'll start to feel when you're anchored and when you're not. You'll feel the difference between reacting from a wound and responding from your center. You'll catch the subtle shifts in your field and gently call yourself back. Anchoring is how you stop being a sponge for the world and start becoming a tuning fork for your own truth. It's not always glamorous. It's often quiet, but it's powerful beyond measure. Because when you're anchored, you no longer seek to belong. You remember that you already do. Once you've anchored into your own frequency, a new level of power becomes available to you. One that many sense, but few consciously use. The ability to direct your energy with intention. This is the point where your energy is no longer just something you protect or maintain. It becomes something you wield. Every thought, every emotion, every choice is a current. And whether you're aware of it or not, you are always radiating, always transmitting. The question is, are you doing it intentionally, or are you leaking energy without realizing it? When your field is unclear, scattered, or overwhelmed, your energy moves in all directions, often driven by unconscious patterns, external expectations, or emotional reactivity. But when you are anchored and aware, you can begin to choose where your energy goes and where it doesn't. That's the shift. That's where true energetic sovereignty begins. Directing your energy doesn't mean forcing outcomes. It's not about controlling every detail of life. It's about aligning yourself with what matters most to you and then allowing your energy to flow in that direction, like a river that knows its course. You become the keeper of your current, the guardian of your flame. So much of our energy is spent unintentionally on distractions, on pleasing, on worrying, on overthinking, on reliving stories that no longer serve us. But what if, instead of scattering your energy like seeds in the wind, you poured it into something sacred? A vision, a healing, a purpose, a moment of presence with someone you love, a boundary held with grace, a creative impulse honored fully. Can you feel the difference between reacting from autopilot and responding from intention? Can you sense how much of your life might shift if your energy was no longer pulled in 1,000 directions, but guided like light through a lens? The most aligned people don't necessarily have more time, resources, or clarity than others. They just focus what they have with intention. They become aware of how they start the day, what they say yes to, what they give attention to. They begin to treat their energy like currency, sacred, limited, and powerful when directed with care. So pause and ask yourself, where am I unconsciously spending my energy right now? And what would shift if I chose to direct it with purpose instead? These aren't questions to rush through, they're gateways. They're invitations to reclaim your life one choice at a time. As you deepen this practice, you'll start noticing subtle shifts. You'll feel less drained after interactions. You'll begin to magnetize what resonates and repel what doesn't. You'll feel more alive, not because your life is perfect, but because you're finally living on purpose. This is where energetic control becomes energetic creation. You stop surviving and start shaping. You stop leaking and start channeling. And in doing so, you remember something ancient and undeniable. Your energy is not just something you have, it's something you are. Something subtle but undeniable begins to shift when you start to master your energy, not just in how you feel, but in how life responds to you. It's not always dramatic at first. It's not fireworks or sudden transformations. Often it's quieter than that. It's walking into a room and not absorbing everyone's emotions like a sponge. It's saying no without guilt. It's waking up with a sense of clarity instead of heaviness. It's realizing that peace has become your baseline, not chaos. Mastering your energy doesn't mean you'll never be triggered again. It doesn't mean you float above real life, untouched by emotion. What it does mean is that your center holds. You stop being at the mercy of everything outside of you. Your emotional weather still changes, but you're no longer swept away by every storm. You begin to respond instead of react. You choose instead of chase. People will feel this shift in you before you even say a word. Your presence becomes different. It has weight, gravity, coherence. And what's interesting is how others begin to mirror this. When you're calm, they soften. When you're firm, they listen. When you're aligned, the noise of their projections can't penetrate you the same way anymore. It's also in your decision-making. Mastery brings discernment. You stop second-guessing every choice or needing external validation to move forward. You begin to trust the signals of your body, the wisdom of your intuition. You stop rushing. You pause more. And yet, you get more done. Not because you're pushing harder, but because your energy is finally flowing in one clear direction. You might notice your boundaries become less about defense and more about design. You're not shutting people out. You're simply curating your space with care. You're not avoiding life. You're moving through it consciously. You start to realize that controlling your energy isn't about rigidity. It's about alignment. It's about making your internal space the most important space you carry. Have you ever felt that low hum of anxiety in your chest, even when nothing is wrong on the outside? That's the cost of unmanaged energy. Now imagine that hum being replaced by stillness. Not the absence of emotion, but the presence of you, fully grounded, fully awake, fully in command of your own system. That's what begins to change. That's what becomes possible. And with this comes another shift. Your desires become cleaner. They are no longer driven by lack, by wounding, by needing to prove something. You begin to want what's true for you, not what you've been conditioned to chase. This alone changes everything, because your energy starts moving toward what is real. And when that happens, synchronicities increase, resistance decreases. You begin to feel supported by life in ways you never thought were possible. So ask yourself now, if I were to truly master my energy, how would my life feel different? And more importantly, what's waiting for me on the other side of that choice? There will always be noise. People pulling, situations spinning, energies entangling. The world doesn't slow down to ask if you're okay. It doesn't pause to check if you're centered. That's why you must become the one who does. You are the guardian of your light, not because the world is dangerous, but because your light is sacred, because it's yours, and because no one else can protect it for you. Being a guardian is not about becoming hard or cold. It's not about hiding behind walls or never feeling anything deeply again. Quite the opposite. It's about becoming so anchored in yourself that you can walk through this world with your heart open and your energy intact. It's about learning the texture of your own frequency so intimately that anything that doesn't belong is felt immediately, not with fear, but with clarity. You're not here to be everything for everyone. You're not here to dim yourself to make others more comfortable. You're not here to carry what isn't yours, to blend in, or to forget the sound of your own inner voice. You are here to shine in a way that is utterly and undeniably you. And that takes courage. That takes presence. That takes practice. Guarding your light means making choices that are sometimes inconvenient. Saying no when it's easier to say yes. Walking away when staying would cost too much. Creating space to recharge, to listen, to return to yourself again and again. It means noticing when you're leaking energy and choosing to seal the leak. It means trusting that your inner world is worth protecting, even if no one else sees the effort it takes. Sometimes you'll feel misunderstood. People may not get why you're more selective now, more quiet, more intentional. That's okay. Your path isn't meant to be explained to everyone. Some will feel your light and meet you there. Others won't. The point is never to convince anyone. The point is to be what you came here to be, without apology. So ask yourself, what would change if I truly believed my light mattered? How would I move, speak, love, rest, create, if I knew my energy was the most valuable thing I owned? What if protecting it wasn't selfish, but sacred? The truth is, you don't have to wait for permission to start honoring your energy. You don't need to reach a certain level of clarity, or be in the perfect environment, or have it all figured out. You just need to begin, one breath at a time, one boundary at a time, one conscious moment where you remember, I am the one who chooses what I carry, where I go, who I become. You are not at the mercy of life. You are not here to survive it. You are here to infuse it with the medicine of your presence. And that light, your light, is worth guarding, not with fear but with devotion, not with resistance, but with deep, unwavering love.